everybody. This is Mike Pentecost coming to you from the porch here at WoodHaven Custom Calls. We want to take a little time here to introduce you to a new thing that we're going to do because it's new. And I'm an old dog, and this is an older dog. And these two old dogs are going to try to learn some new tricks. We're doing the podcast, and we're going to try to bring you some information about what we do at WoodHaven Custom Calls and how we produce calls for you and how we do filming, which this is Terry Sullivan, one of the greatest cameramen of all time and the exclusive owner of the ghost footage. And, if you ain't watched that episode on our YouTube channel, you sure do need to. We hope to be able to bring you some behind the scenes action that comes on here in our wood shop every day and time in the woods and introducing different friends and cohorts and what they say, in-laws and outlaws in the South.
We got a lot of
them. But this is Terry Sullivan, and I'm Mike Pentecost. Again, I was telling you, we're here at the WoodHaven porch, and this man right here has been a real good unto me and one of my right-hand men, one of the best friends I've,
We walked many miles together.
Yeah, every time I tell you, I say, hey, how long we going to do this, Terry?
Yeah, I know. It's toting that camera up and down these hills and mountains.
You've been doing it a long time. Yep. You've been filming. You've hunted with a lot of good people in the woods.
Yes, sir.
You've had some of the time we've been able to spend in the woods. You've told me some great stories. And
I love it.
And
I love my job. A lot of people's asked me, Mike, how did WoodHaven get started? What's the story behind? I get that all the time.
I'd rather talk about turkey hunting. I'm gonna have to ask you some stories about turkey hunting. We living by that code now.
Oh yeah,
the cameraman code.
Yes,
you walked in the woods with me. We've killed a few turkeys together. It's been some fun times. But WoodHaven really was a no doubt it's been a God thing the whole time. I mean, honestly, people can say, well, that's cliche or what, it's whatever it is, but it's the WoodHaven way. And but I really, really wanted to do something in the outdoor industry, didn't know what it was. Yeah. And at a young age, enjoyed the outdoors, enjoyed the woods as much as anything, and couldn't wait to get out and squirrel hunt and ramble and do whatever, and really found my calling in the woods, so to speak. And, it was one of them laying on your back deals, watching the blue skies and the clouds roll through, and maybe you killed a turkey and was just sitting there thinking, man, and just praying, Lord, lead me somewhere that and it didn't happen quick. It's
really?
Nothing's happened fast. And it's one of those, thank God for unanswered prayers, because you think you want something right this minute, but then something better comes on in a different way down the road. And but definitely it was something that I dreamed about, just that country boy dream type thing, and then as I grew up, and got big enough to go rambling and doing what I wanted to do and getting out in the woods and hunting and growing up, I found myself really spending a lot of time in the woods. A tremendous amount of time in the woods. That was my thing. Yeah. And, then as I got older and it'd get turkey season and deer season. And I wanted to go hunting. And I just, didn't get married till I was 36. So I was single for a long time and could ramble and cover country, and I could go in the woods and just stay lots of time, didn't have really responsibility. I quit a few jobs that I probably should have stuck through, but didn't have any responsibilities really at the time. And
no wonder you got so good.
Yeah, staying in the woods is what really, learning woodsmanship, and I allowed Mother Nature, Father Time, and the turkey and the deer and the critters themselves. So many people, you became a woodsman. Yeah. That was truly what I became. My woodsmanship became to the top. As I grew up, my woodsmanship was what, and I found myself really loving the deer and the turkeys. squirrels and everything all fit into it. You know, how many times have we had a blue jay or a squirrel tip us off on?
Oh,
Again,
yeah.
that's woodsmanship. Knowing that a deer was here or a turkey was coming or something because
Yeah.
a blue jay or a squirrel, or knowing how to read woods and be a woodsman, I think is one of the key
Oh, yeah.
things to me as a person as I grew. And then WoodHaven became, WoodHaven became my being in the woods was my haven. That's kind of as the WoodHaven name came together. Being in the woods was that was
Oh,
my thing, so that's how WoodHaven came about,
okay.
and the name. But just spending time, and then learning that vocabulary, really, and then I mean, this thing is, I mean, I remember being younger, and when I kind of started I was a squirrel hunter, and then a rambler in the woods, and a this and a that, and then you look up and kill a deer,
Yeah.
and then look up and finally kill a turkey, and then though as I started really spending time and learning that vocabulary of the and how turkeys and deer reacted in the whole nature thing, I that played the big backside, the back part of what
Oh,
I really how WoodHaven became what it was, because then as I basically broke a call, that old plastic call that I had, and I was using old uh, Perfection mouth call,
right.
some the old Blue Perfection, Brown Perfection, some of them
Yeah.
old calls, and Dale Rome and the Rome brothers. I got to using some of their. They had an old white cutter
Oh,
that I really liked,
yeah.
and anyway, just over time, it
Mhm.
was a progression of I broke a call and had to fix it because I didn't have the money. I didn't
Oh,
have the money to buy another and whatnot. And then I fixed that and kind of liked the way it sounded better and got lucky or whatever. But it made my mind trigger into, hey, I believe I can break
oh,
another. But anyway, just started trying to dabble. That's a country word if you don't know what dabble means. You
yeah.
know, but then that's when you look back and you try to figure out the history of where I came. It's the being in the woods and in loving the woods and being a woodsman,
Yeah.
the woodsmanship that I learned, and then began to dabble in call.
Mhm.
You know, it was in the 80s. I mean, I was mid 80, 86, 87, somewhere in there that I was really, starting to kind of
Get serious
piddle.
about
No,
it.
I was piddling, but then I started getting. So I started asking my dad. We started talking about how to make calls and stuff, and then you just ask questions and bump around, and it's kind of like turkey hunters. They don't tell you nothing, and then back in the day,
Yeah.
nobody would really tell you nothing about building calls either. But I just kind of nosed around and kept plugging and asking questions, and found a source here or a source there, and then started just kind of. I remember the
Oh,
first mouth calls I made, and I still find that. Little piece of plastic, like a cutting board thing.
really?
Yeah, it was an orange piece of plastic, really, and then I took a clamp and I got the latex. Of course, then I didn't know what I was doing, but I was learning. I built a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of bad calls in my day. I built a few good ones, but I built a lot of bad ones. But and I learned how to do the latex and
Mhm.
everything. And I tried all kind of and you still try gadgets and gadgets. That's what you call the
Okay.
so that's two words I taught you already now:
Already.
gadgets, and dabbling. But I took the latex and I clamped it with a little clamp on that side, and I pulled it to a spot and I clamped that side, and
Oh,
that was very crude. But I didn't
yeah.
know, and then I took the frame and put it on there, and
Oh,
clamped, took pliers and clamped the ends,
wow.
and then took that off, and I mean I learned, and I remember one time my granddad came in there. That was started in my grandparents' basement, and I lived with them a lot when I was growing
Enjoying
up
it.
through, and
Yeah.
enjoyed the time I got to spend with them. It was
Sure.
that was a blessing in its own disguise
Oh, yeah.
there, and had a lot. Had the support of my parents. I mean, my dad was a hard worker, and
Mhm.
started me working when I was young, and I didn't want to. I wanted to spend more time in the woods, so
Yeah.
that put me. It was kind of a conflict. I wanted to go what he thought was playing, and it probably would. But I enjoyed my time there. So anyway, but he was a help to me in figuring out how to make my mind think about doing jigs and stuff.
Yeah. Your daddy's he was a great woodworker, working wood.
Yeah, and his father before him. So my
Mhm.
pop, the one my
Mhm.
grandfather on his, he was a real good
Yeah.
woodworker, and but I remember my granddad coming in there one day I was in there learning how to build mouth calls and stuff, and the V cut was the thing. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
when I, like I said, end of the '80s, into the '90s. I mean,
Yep.
that's when V cut stuff was really coming on. And then I remember Granddad watching me cut that V, and he said, "Sport." That's what he called me, Sport. He said, "That kind of looks like the business end of a bee, don't it?" And that picked up to put some sting in your call.
That's where that came from.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things that a lot of folks don't know about the history of where things came from. And we wound up double logo because then I did the came to do the WoodHaven walking turkeys, and and the WoodHaven logo. At one point in time, I was doing calls. Basically, in the company started as a call builder in the basement of my grandparents in my dad's wood shop at his house. So basically, I was back and forth, and just it wasn't a big thing. It was a hobby.
Yeah.
And then it kind of caught on. I started doing some things right and built a few good ones and let my buddies here and there, and and the next thing you know, I sold one or two and did this and did, next thing you know, it was the phone was ringing, and
you get a lot of buddies.
Yeah, hey, I tell everybody now I get buddies, and from January to about May I got a lot of buddies, and after that I must have bad breath or don't take a shower. So
you're real popular that time of year.
Yeah, popular during turkey season now, but it's a blessing to be popular. But staying that course. I mean, the calls themselves started though. It was a learning curve, and it's still a learning curve. I don't think I know much today, but I mean I know more today than I did yesterday, and we keep working on it, and so been a big long evolution of trying to take what a scrappy just having want to and having the desire to find out what it took to make a call.
Yeah.
And truly, with me, I was truly just driven to find that way to sound like that turkey that I heard that day. I didn't have cameras and all that kind of stuff. But I could remember it in my mind. And I'd watch that hen and listen, and I'd play that in my mind. And I would listen, and that cadence and that rhythm and that tone and stuff. And then I tell you, one of the big things about learning, I know we're probably getting a little bit off the subject here of actually staying on how WoodHaven got there, but all this woodsmanship is what plays into the formula that made me be a call builder and making WoodHaven calls. But as I was learning the woodsmanship and learning to listen to turkeys, and of course, I listen to deer too. In the deer season, you listen to the grunting and the bleating and how the structure of the deer herd was made up. But I honestly would go in the woods. Like I said, I was single, didn't have any responsibility, didn't have cell phones and all that stuff. You got to think of our forefathers and all these good people that turkey hunted before us that didn't have all these technologies and all these phones and gadgets. And it's twice I've told you about gadgets and gadgets now. But, rambled in the woods, had a compass and map if I was lucky enough to have a good old topo map.
Yeah.
And
high tech back in.
But I honestly would find turkeys and learned how to find sign. Didn't really know what I was doing, but you learn at OJT, at on the job training, and making them feet tired and going hungry, and it'll make you you get good or get home. So, but I would really go in the woods and find sign and find turkeys, locate turkeys, and then it became a challenge to me to see if I could stay with that flock, spring or fall.
Oh.
And I really liked it in the spring, but fall taught me a lot too. I just didn't fall turkey hunt. I liked the thrill of the gobble and everything. So the fall turkey hunt didn't encourage me any, but I enjoyed following the fall flocks and everything and learning the structure of those turkeys and what they did and how they interacted with each other.
Yeah.
And that was a challenge to me, was to get in that turkey flock and follow that flock. get in, get set up, get still. Sometimes you get busted, and I want to figure out why I got busted, and sometimes I'd get close, and sometimes I'd just be with them, and then they would get out of sight, and I'd figure out how to go around and get ahead, and started figuring out, and I mean, and then, there was times that I would put flocks to bed, be there and hear them fly up, and then it get dark, and I'd just slip down the holler a little far enough, and if I had a pack with some beanie weenies or something, might build me a little fire, and I just ate what I'd had to and got by, and I was more interested in them turkeys and how to get better as a woodsman and everything. And again, that drive, that being that driven about trying to learn something makes you be driven about everything else that you do in your life. Going back, like you said, your comment and question was about how WoodHaven started, and that's the background of it really being how that the little wood shops, the little structures, and then the being small, and then 90. I worked for a couple of years there with a small call company, and doing things with them, and I realized that even made me more driven to say, this is what I want to do. This is something about this I really like, and then I wanted to do it better.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was helping be part of that, and that was interesting and learning curve. And then being able to take it to the next step. That next step was when I said, you know what, I gotta do this and this is what I think I need to do. And that was the birth of the V2, V3, V4, and the old Hornet. That was the green latex, and then the V cuts, and then the Hornet was a little yellow latex that I found. And so I just made some basic mouth calls, and then I started making a few pot calls, and Daddy helped me figure out how to make some basic jigs, and those jigs was very crude and very rough. But I had, and it's my analogy here too, I may need to dig a lake, and I may need a bulldozer and an excavator to dig that lake, and I want to dig this big old hole and make this lake, right? But if I ain't got the money to build or hire an excavator and a bulldozer, but I own a shovel and a pick, well, I'm going to build my lake. It's just going to be hard work and sore back, and so, I mean, and I feel like that's how I had to learn, and how it's came about too, because I've had everything, had to just come up with the jigs, and I've been old school, slow school, the way I built turkey calls, but that must have been a good way. I mean, we've got smarter as we've got better, aluminum type jigs and everything, but I've done things the slow way, the hard way, but it's made good calls, and I won't subvent quality, and for quantity, and then things are getting better and bigger, but I don't know, I'm kind of getting rambly-wee, but that call thing started again about 92. I remember putting mouth calls in a buying some mouth call clamshells from somebody, and I would printed little stickers I had a print shop print me some peel off and stick on the back, and it was a stinger calls, WoodHaven call. It was WoodHaven call, but it was a stinger mouth call. So that's how the mouth calls became known as stingers, and that was, like I said, it kind of became two dual logo with WoodHaven custom calls, and then that B with the put some sting in your call. That was kind of the, that sting too is that nerve in you. When I was hitting it right, that nerve really tingled in my ear. That was put some sting in your call. But so I mean, I started selling a few calls locally, and a few shops, and put a few on the counters, and people would do that for you back then. And then about 96, they said, hey man, we can't keep doing this. You got to find some way. And I like that clamshell and everything, and we found a way to put the UPCs and stuff so that they could actually scan them. And technology kept growing, and then I started figuring out how to make my pot calls and stuff better, and had some help along the way of people. Had to find sources of how to get the things that I needed to do to build calls, and it took time to figure that out, but you did. And then in 98 I got married, and about 99 I came home. We had one young son, Benjamin, who's now 21, finna be 22, and but I came home and I said, I've got to try.
Got it.
It was a growing hobby that got to a point that I had to get. I had a guy tell me some advice, and he said, "You need to get in or get out."
Wow.
And he told me that a number of times before it actually sunk in. Get in or get out. And I never understood what it until one day I understood what he meant. It hit me. I said,
Wow.
get in or get out. I was playing in a world that I wanted to be, and I was doing okay. Making my hobby was growing. I mean, I was getting where I was selling a few more and a few more. But then, so I came home and I told my wife. I said, "We're going in turkey call business." Of course, she didn't have a clue. She's, the concrete princess. She's never had her feet in the dirt, So, I am, the old wild ramble country boy, and she's a concrete woman from the city. So, we was really a sight to behold.
Opposite track.
Yeah, and and it's had its challenges, obviously, because of But she, that's what we did. I mean, I wanted to try because I wasn't going to be satisfied if I didn't try.
Yeah.
I was never going to know. And so we went into turkey call business, but I had to figure out what a business plan was. I got the business plan for dummies book, and had to read. I started trying to figure out, okay, this is what you got to do to start a business. You got to have a business plan. You got to have all these things. So I actually put in flooring and did stuff on the side. Like I said, I quit a regular job in the lumber business and building supply business to actually just go venture forth into that, and then I was really out on my own. That's when I had to make it or break, because then the reality really struck of you got to go, and I figured out though that I was a custom call builder over here in this little world, and I use analogies of moving my hands all the time, but there was the custom call guys over here, and there still are. There's custom guys that make custom stuff one at a time, whatever. Look, man, tip my hat to every call builder out there. I'm not trying to be anything but me. I mean, I'm happy for them, and I'm happy for them. I'll just try to be me. My analogy is to worry about what's in front of me and don't be looking back. If you stop looking back, all you do is worry about something that's done gone. I worry about me and where I'm headed and what I'm going to do. Had opportunities over the years, and that's a whole, man, I could tell you, I mean, the WoodHaven story is a book, and it's got many chapters in it, but we got to the point there that when I stepped out there and I thought, well, I want to build, I had to define what I really wanted to be. So as I figured that out, in my business plan was I wanted to build the best turkey call line there was ever, best calls, period, conclusive. I didn't want to build good slates and pot calls, and everybody know me as a pot call guy, and I didn't want to just build good mouth calls or this. I wanted to build the best strikers, slate calls, pot calls, glass calls, box calls, mouth calls. I wanted to do it and really do it right. So I was over here in this world, meaning the custom call, just wanted to just know a few friends, pay $50 at the local gun shop and set up and sell they call that peddling. You peddling some calls and everything, and or get a phone call from a friend of yours that knew me, and you said, hey, call Mike and get you one, so I understand what it like to come from that world. And then in the other world, there was some guys over here that was, selling at Bass Pro Shops and all that stuff, and that's what really caught, that's what I wanted to be. I mean, there was the big, some big, great companies, your Primos, Nightingales, Quaker Boy, HS Strut, Mad, all these, they were what was the big guys over here. And, as I was writing the business plan and figuring things out, I realized that I couldn't sell enough calls over here this way. I couldn't spend enough time, peddling calls to make a living. And I said, Self, that there's got to be a way to take a good product and put it in a real nice package and sell it like these guys are. And so when I embarked on that journey, I kind of got in the middle because I was a hybrid then. I didn't belong over here, and they didn't like me over here. So I mean,
Really?
I was a hybrid
Wow.
that so I kind of came with a different kind of deal. With I wanted to build the best I could do, and I wasn't worried about what they were doing or they were doing. I just started worrying about what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to build the best I could build and put it in a great package, and then keep my integrity and my quality where it needed to be. Integrity is something that you do when nobody else is watching. So, I learned that I wanted to put a call in that package that I truly wanted to get myself. If it didn't run, it didn't call, then it's not going to go out of my shop. And that still sticks today. That's why people say, "Hey, just get a WoodHaven. The quality's there." And I'm blessed to have kept that integrity and that quality and consistency, and have the people like you sit there and build box calls every day right here with us. So I mean, I'm blessed to have people like you that's taking care of the integrity of what we're doing. But I mean, there's multiple chapters into what we could be talking about right now. But the synopsis of all this is we started out there then, and I was a hybrid company, so I didn't really fit over there, and I didn't fit over there. And Bass Pro Shop, a guy from the south had moved up out of the Georgia area at suburbs, and he had known the calls from kind of being local. We're west of Atlanta here, an hour. So anyway, he could kind of found out about and knew there was a little WoodHaven call, Stinger call, a guy down there in Alabama. So anyway, they gave me a chance. Some guys kind of spoke for me, and that guy and some other guys kind of spoke for me, and next thing you know, my phone rang one day, and and I had started out there, and they said, Bass Pro Shop, somebody from Bass Pro Shop wants to talk to you. And I said, nah, y'all messing with me. It ain't April Fool's Day, is it? But, they gave me a chance. And that's how because they gave me an opportunity. And what they did, they put us in a test market with some other call companies and everything. Yeah. And I stood the test of time. The calls that we put in there, the V2, V3, V4, I think that's what we started with. And then, we actually put another call in a little bit later, and I stood the test of time. People were trying them, and we were selling enough to make it, I had to learn about all kind of insurance and all these things that people don't think about, how to have the packaging UPCs, how things have to be delivered, how they have to be shipped. I was a nervous wreck trying to do all that. But then as we were growing, I mean, we were kind of out of the South, there as an Alabama company. We kind of was selling stores in Alabama and Georgia and stuff, and then it kind of, and it grew. And then Bass Pro Shop really gave me a chance when they put me in that catalog at one time and did the test market with us, and we actually made the cut, so to speak. We started selling calls, and people started liking them. But it takes a lot of time to build a national brand, and it takes time to build the following of people finding that trust in you and your brand and your product. They got to believe in you, and you've got to give them to try it for them to do that. And again, we've been blessed to have a lot of WoodHaven fans, and still getting WoodHaven fans, and that pretty much put it I know that's a long-winded how it got started, but man, like I said, there's multiple chapters I could drop back and fill in here and fill in there in what I've just told you. But it came from a basement and an idea, and back earlier when I broke a call that I didn't have the money to fix, and then just coming up through and knocking on doors and asking questions, and then going home and, like I said, built a lot of bad calls.
Well, you did something right, because you just won the Dick Kirby Call Makers Award, National Wild Turkey Federation. So,
well, I'm blessed to be.
That is awesome.
Blessed to have received that, honored. Honored. I mean, to realize that your peers are starting to recognize what you do. Absolutely. And what you've done.
Oh yeah.
That makes a big difference for you as a person, any individual. When you realize that you're getting recognized for your life's work, that ought to be an honor. If you're not honored by that,
he's proud for you.
Yeah. Well, but me, I'm pleased for all the people that's been a part of it.
Yeah.
You.
We have an awesome crew.
We've got. I mean, I've been blessed to have, a good team you don't get anywhere. Quarterback can't throw touchdown passes if he ain't got a center to snap it to him and a line to block and running backs and people to catch it and some blind referees or something. You got to have a little luck every now and then. You got to have something go your way. But I'm blessed to have had some good opportunities. I think I've done some things right. And I think one of the main things was keeping faith, because the one part about WoodHaven that people wouldn't know was how much adversity I faced. When I came in to what I did, I kind of came out of this world and wanted to be them, wanted to be in that way. I just wanted to be me, and I just wanted to sell calls. I just believed I could make a good call, put it in a nice package, and sell it to somebody. And but the adversity. I mean, by putting yourself out there in the middle with an identity crisis there, so to speak, I didn't have a problem identifying with me, but everybody else did. And then, so I had to be myself, and I had to be true to myself. But you know what was the biggest forefront in all that was being faithful. Having to believe that I was right, that my prayers that I was thinking that God was opening doors for me, that I don't believe anything happens by circumstance. Or happenstance. I believe it's circumstance. I believe God's in the path, and if you follow that path, and he'll open the doors, he'll close one on that trail you don't need to go on. You may get off of it and get in the briars, but he'll get you right back if you just ask and come back, And but I think staying faithful, just believing that in my heart, because I was told by so many people, you won't do that. Boy, you're going to fail. Won't you
really?
I don't know what you're thinking, but you can't, that won't never work. You can't sell calls like that. You can't, you won't be able to sell a mouth call like that. And you can't do this. You can't. And I think that just drove me.
Oh, yeah.
It just built a fire that made me more hungry.
Yeah.
To do what I knew in my heart I was doing right. And as long as I thought I was following that, if I'd have felt cold and felt like I was venturing into cold, I believe I would have backed off. But I felt like even when times was dark and times were desperate, you got to figure, when you start a brand new company and you got a young family, my family grew as fast as the business did. I had children that came on, had a daughter about 4 years later, and then had 2 sons, and had the economic downturn, had a son had heart surgery, and just had a lot of things going on. That was life. You can't stop. But that becomes the fabric. Mm-hmm. I had a man tell me one time, he said, a man's character soon becomes a company's policy. And those kind of sayings mean a lot to me, because I'm a perceptive person. I want to know what's going on around me in the woods and everything. I want to know what's going on. What was that sound over there? And what's moving here? And that's, again, I think that's part of the wisdomship that I just kind of inherited. You say I got turkey ears.
Oh gosh, you got bionic ears.
Oh, I'm just lucky still. I'm blessed, Tell us a turkey story. We talked about turkey calls and everything. Tell us a turkey story. Tell us one of where me and you. I know now. I'm tell you what. You have been with a lot of good turkey hunters in the woods, and I'm just blessed to be able to go with you. But tell us a turkey story. Tell us a story about one we've been on that you remember. I'll put you right on the spot.
I don't know.
Tell us something that we've done.
I've hunted world champions, state champions, grand national champions. But when you go with a fella the first time, and you go to get in the truck and put your gear in, you see a turkey coughing in the back of the truck. Yeah. You're like, this guy must be really serious.
Yeah, I remember that morning now.
He looked at me and said, we'll be putting one in it in a little bit. I'm like, okay. Yeah. And by George, he wasn't long. You rolled one.
What was that morning? About the third or fourth setup?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yep.
And about the third or fourth turkey we done messed up, and we on one, and what did I tell you? Go ahead and tell it. I'll let you tell it.
Go ahead.
No, it's on you, buddy.
No, go tell him.
I'll
mess it up.
Huh? No.
Go ahead, tell him.
I told you. I said, you sit right here. I'm going down there to kill that turkey.
He had a hard time with cameraman, getting used to a cameraman.
Yeah.
And after that third time we messed up, he said, you just sit down right there. I'm going to kill this turkey. So I just kind of sat down there and base of the tree and watched it go over the ridge there. Next thing I heard,
Called him. Huh?
here he come.
Yeah.
Walking back up the hill with a turkey.
Well, I just couldn't seem to move with that. You know, that made me a nervous wreck trying to move in there on them birds with two of us and all that extra sound and trying to learn how to set that. But I've done good now. I've learned how to do a lot of. I'm still an old dog, but I'm learning new tricks. You know, I'm learning to talk to the fist now. You know, you seen that GoPro? I can walk around and do
Scott
that.
and Dylan's done wonders.
Done wonders. Well, you paved the way then.
Yeah,
You've
I got him
softened
through
me
the
up.
hard.
You've softened me up.
Yeah, I took the brunt, boys.
Yeah.
He's got a lot better now.
Well, I hope we got a lot of opportunity to do a lot more hunting together, a lot of good time together, opportunities to tell more stories, build more. You know, you've been with all my kids. You've been, you've helped me. You're Pawpaw Naughty. You know, so maybe we'll have a lot of opportunity going forward to tell some more stories. We sit up here on this porch and tell some tales and spin some yarns and tell some other things that maybe folks will be interested in hearing. And
we got lots of stories.
Yeah, got lots of stories to tell. But you know what? We appreciate you being with us on this initial podcast and talking about the WoodHaven story, if it would be kind of as the story Terry's asking me to tell it like it was, and kind of how the background of WoodHaven came about. And we hope to see you back here again on the old WoodHaven porch, and I hope we keep doing things the WoodHaven way. Thank you.